Welcome back, everybody. You know we love to do these deep dives. And today we're diving into Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power.
Always exciting stuff.
It is. And you sent over some really fascinating material
Mhm.
focusing on Law 38.
Yeah.
Think as you like, but behave like others. I gotta say, that title alone had me hooked.
It's a good one. It's a really good one.
It sounds kind of contradictory, though, right?
It does, doesn't it?
Oh, okay.
It's definitely attention grabbing.
Yeah.
That's part of the brilliance of this law. It's really all about navigating power dynamics and social situations in a strategic way.
Okay.
In a strategic way.
So we're talking strategy here, but why is this law so important?
Well,
Especially, I know you're interested in this kind of material.
yeah, I think this is one of the most important ones. Humans, we're wired to resist the unfamiliar.
Okay.
Right. If you come out and you're openly defiant, it could be like hitting a brick wall. And so this law really kind of brings to light that sometimes achieving your goals means playing the long game.
So instead of like charging in headfirst, we should be more calculated.
Yes, exactly.
Ah.
And the material you sent over actually highlighted this with a really great example. Nicholas Copernicus,
Oh, yeah.
he was the one who came up with the heliocentric theory.
Right.
But he knew,
That the Earth revolves around the sun.
yes,
Yeah.
that the Earth revolves around the sun and not the other way around.
Not the other way around. Right.
Which was the popular belief. But he knew that this was going to, rock the boat, right? He
Yeah.
knew this was going to be a big challenge for people to accept.
Yeah.
And so he played it smart.
Yeah, he kept his revolutionary ideas under wraps for years.
Yeah.
Talk about patience.
Think about it. That's incredible patience. He really understood the power dynamics of his time. To come out and just openly challenge the church's view of the universe, that could have been disastrous for him.
Yeah.
And so by biding his time and blending in, he was able to eventually bring his ideas to light without, immediate backlash.
He was playing 4D chess while everyone else was playing checkers.
Yes,
And
exactly.
so blending in, it's not about being a pushover,
Right.
it's about strategy.
Pure strategy.
How does this play out in, like, say, a modern workplace?
Oh, well, let's say you've got these brilliant ideas for your company,
Okay.
but you're constantly butting heads with your superiors.
Yeah.
You're going to get labeled a troublemaker.
Right.
Even if you're right.
Been there.
So how do we apply Law 38 in this scenario?
Yeah.
Instead of directly challenging the status quo, you climb the ladder strategically.
Okay.
You gain influence from within the system.
Mm-hmm.
That way, when you do speak up,
Yeah.
people are more likely to listen.
They're more receptive.
Much more receptive.
It's about picking your battles and knowing when to wield that influence that you've slowly built up.
Exactly. Yeah.
I can see how this applies to, social situations, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Like sometimes it's better to, listen and observe a little bit
Yeah.
before voicing strong opinions. Right?
Yes. Like, let's say you're at a gathering,
Mm-hmm.
and there are people there that have vastly different views than your own.
Mm-hmm.
Going on the attack isn't going to win anyone over.
Right. It's more about subtly shifting the conversation,
Yes.
finding common ground first.
Finding common ground, you plant seeds of thought, you kind of nudge the conversation in a certain direction.
Yeah?
It's much more effective to persuade people that way
Mm-hmm.
without triggering, defensiveness.
Makes them feel less threatened.
Exactly.
This is making me think about politics.
Yeah.
It seems like it's a world where, like, standing out is everything, but maybe that's not always the case.
Well, I think that's a great point,
Mm-hmm.
because if you think about it, politicians who outwardly respect traditions, they often gain more trust, even if behind the scenes they have very unconventional ideas.
Yeah, they're playing the game.
They're playing the game.
Yeah.
It's about appearing relatable, even if you're planning, very bold moves behind the scenes.
Okay, I'm starting to see the pattern here. So we've got historical examples, workplace scenarios, social dynamics.
Yeah.
But what about, like, modern day figures
Okay.
who really embody Law 38?
Well, the material you sent had a really great example. Warren Buffett.
Oh, yeah, the Oracle of Omaha.
Yes,
Down
exactly.
to earth guy.
Yeah, he's known for his very simple lifestyle.
Yeah,
Very folksy, almost.
totally, yeah.
But underneath that unassuming exterior, you have this brilliant and often very unconventional investor.
Mm-hmm.
He understands the power of appearing predictable
Oh, wow.
while making bold moves in the market.
It's like he's mastered the art of blending in while simultaneously being a total maverick.
Yes.
So what's the key to, pulling this off? Is it all about emotional intelligence?
Oh, it's huge. It's
Yeah.
huge. I would say that emotional intelligence is absolutely key here.
Yeah.
You need to be able to read the room,
Mhm.
to adapt your behavior, to understand the motivations of others.
Okay, so we've established that, blending in can be incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
But the material also warned against standing out too soon, right?
It did.
And it used some pretty intense historical examples.
It did. Like, think about Galileo and Socrates.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Both of them were brilliant thinkers who were ultimately punished
Hmm.
for challenging the status quo before, the world was ready.
It's almost tragic.
It is tragic.
How ahead of their time they were. Galileo forced to, recant his discoveries and
Right.
Socrates sentenced to death just for, asking questions.
Yeah,
It's crazy. It really makes you think about timing.
absolutely. Timing is everything.
Yeah.
You need to not only gauge the immediate social setting, but also, the broader historical context,
Mhm.
where you are in time.
Speaking of high-stakes situations where blending in is crucial, the material mentioned espionage. Yes.
Which I thought was a really cool example.
A great example.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. In the world of espionage, blending in is paramount.
Right.
I mean, if a spy stands out, their cover's blown.
Their mission's compromised.
Mission's compromised. It's life or death.
Yeah.
Very high stakes.
Okay, so we've talked about the importance of blending in, but is this all about suppressing our individuality?
That's a great question.
Where do we draw the line?
That is a great question. And that's something that, people ask all the time. But I think that Law 38 is not about erasing who you are.
Okay.
It's about choosing the right moments
Okay, at the right time.
to reveal your true self.
Yeah, picking your battles.
Picking your battles and knowing when to strategically reveal your thoughts, your beliefs.
Mhm.
Not every disagreement
Right.
has to be a showdown.
Yeah.
Sometimes a more subtle approach can be much more effective in the long run. This makes me think about leaders who've made the mistake of standing out, too boldly, too soon. The material used Muammar Gaddafi as an example.
Oh, yeah, great example.
Yeah.
Gaddafi's flamboyant, defiant personality, it ultimately contributed to his downfall.
Yeah.
It made him a target, both domestically and internationally.
Right.
And it's a stark contrast to leaders who manage to conceal their more, let's say, radical ideas behind a facade of normalcy.
Yeah, they tend to have more staying power,
They
right?
do. They do. It shows that sometimes restraint and a calculated approach
Mm-hmm.
can be much more effective than just blatant defiance.
It's fascinating how this applies to, the corporate world, too.
Oh, for sure.
The material brought up CEOs and executives
Yes.
and how they often cultivate a very traditional image
Yeah.
while enacting, bold strategies behind the scenes.
Absolutely. Because, a CEO who projects stability and trustworthiness, they're much more likely to gain the confidence of shareholders, employees, the public.
Right. They maintain a sense of continuity
Exactly.
while implementing potentially disruptive changes.
Yeah, really smart.
So how can we, as individuals, take this ancient wisdom
Okay.
and apply it to our own lives?
Well, the material actually breaks it down for us, which is great. It gives us like a roadmap for how to apply Law 38.
A roadmap. Okay, I'm definitely interested.
So the first step is
Yeah.
observation. Before you act, take a time to understand, the unspoken rules, the expectations of your environment. It's like doing reconnaissance.
Yeah, you need to know the terrain.
You need to know the terrain before you make your move.
Got it.
Okay. So the next step, adaptation. Once you've observed the environment, you adapt your behavior accordingly.
Okay.
This might mean, matching your tone, your mannerisms, even your opinions, just on a surface level to blend in seamlessly.
So it's about strategic adaptation, not losing yourself entirely.
Right.
That makes sense.
And then comes the art of introducing new ideas,
okay.
but subtly. Okay, so instead of directly challenging beliefs, you guide conversations in a way that kind of encourages people to question their own assumptions and to arrive at new conclusions organically.
So instead of confrontation, we're aiming for a more gradual
Yeah.
shift in perspective.
Gradual shift in perspective.
It's subtle but powerful.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then this next step is so crucial. It's knowing when to reveal your true thoughts.
Okay.
Timing is everything here. Have you gained enough trust, credibility, power within that environment
Yeah.
to be able to express your authentic beliefs
Yeah.
without facing negative
No,
consequence.
it's like waiting for the perfect moment to make your move in a game of chess.
Exactly.
Strategic patience.
And finally, it's about choosing your battles wisely.
Okay.
Not every disagreement needs to turn into a fight.
Right.
Save your energy for the issues that truly matter.
It's about making an impact, not just creating noise. I'm really starting to see how all of this comes together.
Yeah.
So what's the key takeaway here?
Okay.
How can we kind of sum up the essence of Law 38?
I think it boils down to this. True power isn't always about brute force or dominance.
Okay.
It's often about self-control.
Control, okay.
It's about knowing when to blend in, when to adapt, and when to strategically, reveal your true colors.
So it's about playing the game intelligently,
Yes.
not just trying to win at all costs.
Exactly, exactly. And that's where emotional intelligence becomes crucial.
Mm-hmm.
It's about being perceptive, understanding social dynamics, and reading those subtle cues in any given situation. It's like becoming a social chameleon.
Oh, I like that.
You're adapting to these different environments while staying true to your core principles.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation.
Good, good. I'm glad.
But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive into Law 38, I have one final question for you.
Okay.
If you could give our listeners one piece of advice, one key takeaway to apply to their own lives, what would it be?
I would say this. The next time you're faced with a choice, to stand out, to challenge the status quo, to make your voice heard, take a moment and ask yourself, is this the right time, or should I observe, adapt, and wait for a more strategic opportunity?
That's such a powerful question. It encourages us to be mindful, strategic, and intentional with our actions. I think we've just scratched the surface of this law, and I'm excited to dive even deeper in the next part of our conversation. Stay tuned. All right, we're back and ready to continue our deep dive into Law 38. We've already uncovered so much about, the power of strategic blending, and I'm eager to explore even more. What other insights did you, glean from the material, especially when it comes to navigating these ideas in our own lives?
Well, one thing that really struck me was how this law ties into the concept of patience.
Okay.
It's not just about blending in, it's about using that time wisely.
So instead of seeing it as like a passive act, we should be viewing it as an opportunity for preparation.
Yes, exactly. Think about a chameleon. It blends in, but it's also observing its surroundings, waiting for that perfect moment to strike.
Yeah,
It's not simply disappearing, it's strategizing.
I like that analogy.
Yeah,
So it's about like using that time of blending in to gather information,
yes,
assess the situation, and really hone your strategy.
exactly. It's like in martial arts.
Mm.
Sometimes the most powerful move is to wait, to deflect your opponent's energy, and then strike when they least expect it.
It's about choosing your moments of action very carefully.
Yes.
So how do we know when it's, the right time to stand out, to reveal our true selves, to make that quote unquote move, so to speak?
That's where discernment comes in.
Okay.
You have to ask yourself, have I gained enough trust within this environment? Do I have the necessary influence or credibility to speak up without, facing serious repercussions?
So it's almost like a cost-benefit analysis,
Yeah.
weighing the potential risks
For sure.
and rewards.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And sometimes the most strategic move is to continue blending in, to bide your time, to build your power base before making, that bold move.
It makes me think about all those times where, maybe I've spoken up too soon or challenged someone in a way that backfired, and
Yeah.
maybe I would have been better served with a little more observation
Yeah.
and patience.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
It's a learning process.
Yeah.
That's why this Law 38 is so valuable.
Yeah.
It gives us a framework for navigating these situations with more awareness and intention.
It's like having a secret weapon in your back pocket.
It is. It is.
Now, one thing that keeps coming up for me is this idea of authenticity.
Right.
If we're constantly, adapting our behavior, are we being inauthentic? Are we losing ourselves in the process?
That's a great question, and it's a common concern. But here's the thing. True authenticity isn't about being the same in every situation.
Okay.
It's about being true to your core values, to your principles,
Okay.
while also being adaptable to different social contexts.
So it's like we have different facets of ourselves
Yeah.
that we reveal depending on the situation.
Exactly. Think of it like an actor playing different roles.
Okay.
They bring their unique skills, their personality to each role, but they also adapt their performance based on the script
Yeah.
and the director's guidance.
That's a great analogy. So we're not like being fake. We're just being strategic in how we express ourselves.
Right, right. And ultimately, The goal is to become so skilled at this, let's call it a social dance, that it feels natural and effortless.
Okay.
You're not constantly second-guessing yourself.
Yeah.
You're flowing with the situation while staying true to your, core self.
Like you're becoming a master communicator,
Yes.
able to adapt your message and your approach
Yes, yes.
to connect with any audience.
That's a great way to put it.
Now, in the first part of our deep dive, we talked about how emotional intelligence is crucial for applying Law 38 effectively.
Yes.
Can you kind of elaborate on that a little bit more? What
Well-
specific aspects of emotional intelligence come into play here?
Well, first and foremost, it's self-awareness.
Okay.
Understanding your own strengths, your weaknesses, your triggers, your values, knowing how you tend to react in different situations. What pushes your buttons?
So it's like knowing your own user manual before you try to operate in the social world.
Yeah, exactly. Then you have social awareness, which is the ability to read the room, to pick up on those subtle cues
Yeah.
in people's body language, their tone of voice, their facial expressions,
Mm-hmm.
understanding the dynamics of the group, sensing those emotional undercurrents.
It's almost like having a sixth sense for social situations.
Yeah, in a way. And then there's relationship management. That's the ability to build rapport, to create connections, to influence others in a positive and ethical way.
So it's not just about blending in, it's about blending in skillfully
Yes.
in a way that, builds trust and fosters positive relationships.
Exactly. It's about being strategic, but also being genuine
Hmm.
and authentic in your interactions. Because people can usually sense when someone is being fake or manipulative.
Hmm.
It's important to approach these situations with integrity.
It's like that saying, people may not remember what you said, but they'll always remember how you made them feel.
That's so true. So true. It's about creating a positive emotional impact, even when you're navigating those complex social dynamics.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about self-awareness, social awareness, relationship management. Are there any other aspects of emotional intelligence that are important for, mastering Law 38?
Yeah. Self-regulation is a big one.
Okay.
It's the ability to manage your emotions, to stay calm under pressure, to avoid those impulsive reactions.
So instead of like getting swept away by our emotions,
Yeah.
we're learning to control them.
To control them. Think of
Oh.
it like being a surfer riding a wave.
Okay.
You're not fighting against the wave. You're working with it. You're using its energy to propel yourself forward.
So staying centered and composed, even in challenging situations.
Right. And this ties back into, choosing your battles wisely.
Mm.
If you can regulate your emotions, you're less likely to get caught up in those unnecessary conflicts.
It's about responding thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively.
Yes,
I think that's such a valuable skill in any area of life,
absolutely.
not just when it comes to power dynamics.
Oh, yeah. Emotional intelligence is essential for effective communication, leadership, teamwork, really any situation that involves interacting with other human beings.
This has been so insightful. I feel like I'm starting to see the bigger picture here.
Good.
Law 38 isn't just about, blending in. It's about understanding human nature.
Yes.
Mastering our emotions and using that knowledge to navigate the social world with, grace and strategy.
Yes. I think you've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
That's what makes this law so fascinating and relevant to our lives today.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about power in the traditional sense. It's about personal power,
Mm-hmm.
the power to influence our circumstances and to create the lives that we want.
It's about understanding that true power often lies in the subtle,
Yes.
the unseen, the things that happen beneath the surface.
Yes, yes. The quiet moves, the strategic decisions, the calculated risks that ultimately lead to success.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, what final thoughts would you like to leave our listeners with? What's the key takeaway that they should, carry with them?
I would encourage your listener to think about areas in their own life where they might be able to apply Law 38.
Okay.
Are there situations where blending in, observing, waiting for the right moment to act might be more effective than charging ahead?
That's such a great question. It's almost like an invitation to, reflect on our own experiences and to see how we can apply these principles to achieve our goals.
Absolutely.
Whatever they may be. We've covered so much ground already, but I'm excited to continue this conversation and to explore even more nuances of Law 38 in the final part of our deep dive. Don't go anywhere. And we are back for the final part of our deep dive into Law 38. Man, I'm already feeling like a master strategist or something.
You're getting there.
But before we wrap up, I want to make sure we tie everything together, We've talked about all these historical figures, modern examples, the importance of emotional intelligence, but how does it all connect, for the listener in a practical way?
Well, one of the most valuable things I think you can take away from Law 38 is the concept of leverage.
Okay.
It's not just about blending in. It's about using that time to build your influence and to create opportunities.
So instead of feeling like we're, hiding or suppressing ourselves,
Right.
we're actually like positioning ourselves to greater impact.
Yes, exactly. Think of it like building a foundation, You need a solid base before you can, erect a skyscraper.
Right.
So blending in is about laying that groundwork, building relationships, and gaining the trust and credibility that you need to eventually make your mark.
So it's like we're playing the long game.
Yes.
Strategically setting ourselves up for success.
Exactly, yeah.
But how does this play out in different areas of life?
Okay.
Can you give our listener like some specific examples?
Sure. Let's say you're an entrepreneur.
Okay.
With like a groundbreaking idea. Instead of rushing to market and like shouting your idea from the rooftops, you might choose to initially blend in with the industry norms, right?
Okay.
You study the market, you build relationships with key players, and you refine your product or service until it's truly exceptional.
So you're not being deceptive or anything. You're just being strategic in how you launch yourself into the market.
You're building anticipation, you're creating a buzz, and you're positioning yourself as a leader in your field.
Yeah.
By the time you fully reveal your vision, you've already established this solid foundation.
You've got that foundation.
For success.
You're creating that sense of mystery and intrigue around your brand.
Exactly. Exactly.
Now, what about in the workplace? We talked earlier about, climbing the corporate ladder strategically.
Yeah.
But how else can Law 38 help someone navigate those, power dynamics?
Well, one way is to become indispensable.
Okay.
You identify the key problems or challenges within your organization, and you quietly become the go-to person.
Okay, yeah.
For solving them. You don't boast, you don't brag, you just consistently
deliver results.
So you're building a reputation as a problem solver. Yes. Like a valuable asset to the team.
Exactly. And as you gain more experience and expertise, you naturally rise in influence and authority. You become a trusted advisor, someone whose opinions are, sought after, respected. And all of this happens without rocking the boat or making a big fuss about it.
Exactly.
It's almost like
stealth approach.
A stealth approach to leadership.
Yeah, I like that.
And this is where emotional intelligence comes into play. Once again.
Big time, yeah.
You need to be able to, read the room, understand the motivations of your colleagues and superiors, and, adapt your approach accordingly.
Right.
So you're not just blending in physically, you're blending in emotionally as well.
Yes, exactly. You're building rapport, you're creating connections, you're demonstrating empathy, understanding.
It's about becoming a master of social dynamics. Someone who can navigate complex situations with, grace and ease.
That's the goal.
Now, I know our listeners are probably eager to, put all this into practice.
Yeah.
What are some specific actions they can take today to start applying Law 38 in their own life?
Okay, so a few key things to remember. First, cultivate self-awareness. Pay attention to your own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? How do you tend to react in different situations?
So it's like taking an inventory of our own, internal landscape.
Exactly. Once you have a better understanding of yourself, you can start to observe the world around you with more clarity. Pay attention to the social dynamics at play in your workplace, your social circles, even your family. What are the unspoken rules? Who holds the power? How do people communicate and interact with each other?
It's like becoming a social scientist.
Yes.
Studying human behavior in its natural habitat.
I love that, yeah.
And as you observe, start to experiment with adapting your behavior in subtle ways.
Okay.
Try, mirroring the body language of someone you admire.
Great idea.
Practice active listening and see how that, impacts your conversations. Pay attention to the tone of voice and the words people use and kind of experiment with adjusting your own communication style.
Exactly, yes.
So it's like we're trying on different social masks?
Yeah, in a way.
To see what fits best in different situations?
But remember, the goal isn't to become someone you're not.
Right.
It's about expanding your range of expression.
Okay.
And becoming more adaptable to different social contexts.
It's like we're adding new tools to our social toolkit.
They're like that, yes.
And the more you practice, the more natural and effortless it will become.
Right.
And eventually you'll be able to navigate any social situation with, confidence and
I
grace.
think so. Yeah, I agree.
This has been such a fascinating journey. We've gone from like the ancient wisdom of Robert Greene to modern day examples. And we've even, explored these practical strategies for applying Law 38
Hmm.
in our own lives. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what final message would you like to leave our listener with?
I would say this. Embrace the power of subtlety. True influence often lies in the unseen, the unspoken, the things that happen beneath the surface. By mastering the art of blending in, observing, strategically revealing yourself, you can achieve remarkable things while staying true to your core values and
Yes.
principles.
Powerful message. It's a reminder that sometimes the most effective path to success is the one less traveled, the one that requires patience, strategy, and a deep understanding of human nature.
Exactly. And remember, the journey of mastering Law 38 is an ongoing one. It's like
Mhm.
continuous learning, adaptation, and refinement.
It's about embracing the art of social intelligence
Right.
and using it to create a more, fulfilling and impactful life. Well, that's it for our deep dive into Law 38. I hope you found this exploration as insightful and empowering as we did. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep into the fascinating world of human behavior.